What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about porting maps into SkillWarz from other games. Now, this tutorial you can apply what I'm talking about to any game. However, the series I'm most familiar with is Call of Duty. So I'm going to be using examples from Call of Duty, and in this game, basically mostly Modern Warfare 2 maps, or Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2. If you're not familiar with that, I'm sorry. I'll try and explain as well as possible without you having to be familiar with actually playing the game. Like I said, you could apply these principles of, we're going to talk about scaling, spawns, engineering, this type of stuff. Very applied. You can apply this to maps from any game, but it's just how you apply it might be a little bit different depending on what map, what game you're getting that map from, So, the first thing you want to do, you may already have a map in mind if you're watching this video that you might want to port from a certain game. The first thing, of course, is to brainstorm if there's a map you might want to port from a game. While you're doing this brainstorming process, it's very important. Don't just pick your favorite map. Don't just pick, whatever. You want to pick a map that's going to work well. And I've pulled up two examples here. Looking in the map list here. Just these first, I was just looking alphabetically, but these first two are kind of good examples. Block from COD 4 and Bog from COD 4. So, you can't tell by this here. We're going to look at the mini-map. So, finding mini-maps for these, for Call of Duty games, you can go to the COD wiki, and they're all posted up in there, so you can just look at that. This is the mini-map from Block. Now, if you've never played this map, this may look quite chaotic, but I'll tell you. So there's one set of spawns kind of up here at the top. There's another set of spawns down here at the bottom. So SkillWarz has static spawns. The spawns will never change, which means that you have to spawn in a way, or it's very much ideal to be able to spawn in a way where you can defend your own spawn if you have to. If you're getting spawn trapped, you're not going to just get shot like fish out of a barrel, right? And it's also good to not just have people spawn like in the open or something, because people have spawn protection. It's in team-based modes in SkillWarz, people have spawn protection. However, it's not great if people just spawn in the open with spawn protection on and can immediately shoot at any enemies they see, because that doesn't feel fair to the enemies. The enemies might be pushing the spawn, but it's going to feel weird to them if people are spawning right in the open and they get shot with spawn protection, from some significant distance away. You should, really only be getting shot from an enemy in spawn protection if you're like in the enemy spawn, not just near it. So what I'm trying to get at here is that this you could easily kind of like, put some cover up or elevate this, or you probably wouldn't want to have this whole thing here. You could get rid of some of this, whatever. If you want to replicate this map, you can block this off and make a nice, discrete spawn zone. When I say discrete, I mean separate. Like it's not like separate, but it feels separate, right? You spawn in there, and there's cover for you, and also the enemies would know that they're walking into your spawn. They're not just going to wander in some part of the map. It's like, oh wait, this is the enemy spawn, right? Same thing with this bottom part here. And then another good part of the map is that, thank you, Sea Cleaner. The other nice part of this map is it's pretty symmetrical. And if you wanted to, you could make this map completely symmetrical. You just make the top half and then duplicate and rotate and do that. So this might be, this is a pretty promising map. If someone wanted to port this map, it might go pretty well, and you wouldn't have to think about a whole lot. A counter example is Bog here. This is another COD 4 map. So Bog, it looks a lot smaller. It is smaller, but it's not a small map. This map is larger than the mini map makes it look here. This here? This is a bus. So that's a bit of scale. This is a bus here. These are like shipping crates. So this map is not as small as it looks. The one problem with this map is, one, it's not very symmetrical, so good luck getting any good balance. But two are the spawns. Call of Duty 4, of course, has dynamic spawns. If you're getting spawn trapped, your spawn will most likely change to be behind the enemy, to the side of the enemy, something like that. But once again, SkillWarz does not have dynamic spawns. SkillWarz has static spawns. You'll just spawn randomly in wherever the map maker puts the spawns at, and the map maker being you. So if in COD 4 the main spawns are here on the right side and right here on the left side. If you put spawns here in SkillWarz, yeah, it'll work, but just spawning right behind a wall, potentially with enemies pushing way up, is not going to be super great, because you have basically no way to defend your spawn. You basically just have to rush out and start shooting, which is not very fun for you usually. And if there's enemies here, they're going to have people rushing out, probably still in spawn protection, and getting and shooting them, which is not going to be super fun for them either. So yeah, it would be fine. There's some people that just like chaotic maps and just love this weird, spawn, the spawn protection, all this weird power balance here. But I try not to make my maps like this, because it's too easy for the map to be annoying when you don't have like any good spawns, right? Same thing with this. If you spawn right here, you can go out this way, you can go out through this building. It's like you're basically, unless you have the upper hand and you're pushing against the other people, then you're basically just trapped here. Same thing with this. Unless you have the upper hand and you have presence in the middle of the map being on this team, then you're gonna kind of just get trapped here. So, not super great. So you want to keep this in mind when you're brainstorming what map you want to pick. Now, one map I thought of, and what I'm going to be making in this video here, for this series, is this map, Scrapyard, in Call of Duty 4. Now, once again, I've pulled up the mini-map here. This is the one from the Modern Warfare Remastered version, but the map's the exact same. So, this, you can see the map's pretty symmetrical. And we can put spawn zones here and here, without a lot of engineering. Then, and then before we move on to the next part, there's just a couple things I want to say that I haven't said yet. If your map has a lot of terrain changes, it's going to be really hard to make well in the SkillWarz map editor. It just kind of is. So, you can't tell terrain changes on a mini-map, so there's no point in pulling those up. But for example, Underpass would be pretty difficult with these weird hills and stuff. It would never really look quite right. What's another one? Quarry with all these bricks here. Yeah, that would be a huge pain. Overgrown. This map is large and it's all like terrain based. You can see none of the terrain's really even. It has a very natural feel. Well, you can't really replicate that in the SkillWarz map editor. You don't want to just put ramps everywhere for no reason. It looks weird. It's hard to do. It's hard to make everything line up. So these maps, you really can't port them very well. You can do a close approximate. You can kind of re-engineer it and reimagine it, and it might look fine, but you really can't do them anywhere near perfectly. Like Derail here, like just giant map with a lot of terrain. That would just be it might be possible to do it, but it would be it wouldn't be very convincing. Afghan, another example. And the last thing is, when you're porting a map, don't use the exact same map name. And the reason why, there's two reasons that are different. Reason one is it makes you look uncreative because it looks like you're just trying to copy something exactly from another game. So at least change the map name. Reason two, and probably more important, is that if you have the same map name, people will expect the map to have a very similar look, very similar feel, very similar mechanics. And if it doesn't, people are gonna think it's worse because they're basing it on something that they already are familiar with. They're probably gonna think your map is worse than if you just focused on making a map that's similar to the map that you're basing it on, but you're reimagining it, or changing, or kind of reimagining it, re-engineering some things that might not work very well in SkillWarz, and whatnot, and basically just optimizing it for SkillWarz, and at the same time you're making it more unique, more like yours. So that's why I highly recommend to not use the exact same map name. Is it the end of the world if you do? No, of course not. But that's why I personally don't. That might be a better way to say it. That's why I personally don't. So the next step in actually, let's see here. This video is 10 minutes long. I'm gonna stop this video here. So this is the kind of the preliminary planning, stuff to keep in mind while brainstorming, you know, yada yada section. So what we've gotten so far is we've looked at a few things, you know, the engineering, the spawns, the balance that might make a map, and also the terrain that might make a map good to port, you know, a good promising candidate, or even like almost impossible to port easily. So where we're at so far is I've selected Scrapyard as a map to port, and in the next video we're going to go over some scaling and some planning considerations. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you later.